Historic Sanctuary of Machu Picchu, Peru. Description: outstanding universal value, integrity and authenticity. Subscribed by my YouTube channel, Golden Words. Description of Historic Sanctuary of Machu Picchu. Machu Picchu stands 2,430 m above sea level, in the middle of a tropical mountain forest, in an extraordinarily beautiful setting. It was probably the most amazing urban creation of the Inca Empire at its height. Its giant walls, terraces and ramps seem as if they have been cut naturally in the continuous rock escarpments. The natural setting, on the eastern slopes of the Andes, encompasses the upper Amazon basin with its rich diversity of flora and fauna. Outstanding universal value. Brief synthesis. Embedded within a dramatic landscape at the meeting point between the Peruvian Andes and the Amazon basin, the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu is among the greatest artistic, architectural and land use achievements anywhere and the most significant tangible legacy of the Inca civilization. Recognized for outstanding cultural and natural values, the mixed World Heritage property covers 32,592 hectares of mountain slopes, peaks and valleys surrounding its heart, the spectacular archaeological monument of La Ciudadela, the Citadel, at more than 2,400 meters above sea level. Built in the 15th century, Machu Picchu was abandoned when the Inca Empire was conquered by the Spaniards in the 16th century. It was not until 1911 that the archaeological complex was made known to the outside world. The approximately 200 structures making up this outstanding religious, ceremonial, astronomical and agricultural center are set on a steep ridge, crisscrossed by stone terraces. Following a rigorous plan, the city is divided into a lower and upper part, separating the farming from residential areas, with a large square between the two. To this day, many of Machu Picchu's mysteries remain unresolved, including the exact role it may have played in the Incas' sophisticated understanding of astronomy and domestication of wild plant species. The massive yet refined architecture of Machu Picchu blends exceptionally well with the stunning natural environment, with which it is intricately linked. Numerous subsidiary centers, an extensive road and trail system, irrigation canals and agricultural terraces bear witness to long-standing, often ongoing human use. The rugged topography making some areas difficult to access has resulted in a mosaic of used areas and diverse natural habitats. The eastern slopes of the tropical Andes, with its enormous gradient from high-altitude puna grasslands and polylepis thickets to montane cloud forests all the way down towards the tropical lowland forests, are known to harbor a rich biodiversity and high endemism of global significance. Despite its small size, the property contributes to conserving a very rich habitat and species diversity with remarkable endemic and relict flora and fauna. Criterion: I. The Inca city of the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu is the articulating center of its surroundings, a masterpiece of art, urbanism, architecture and engineering of the Inca civilization. The working of the mountain, at the foot of the Huayna Picchu, is the exceptional result of integration with its environment, the result from a gigantic effort as if it were an extension of nature. Criterion: 3. The historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu is a unique testimony of the Inca civilization and shows a well-planned distribution of functions within space, territory control, and social, productive, religious and administrative organization. Criterion: 7. The historic monuments and features in the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu are embedded within a dramatic mountain landscape of exceptional scenic and geomorphological beauty, thereby providing an outstanding example of a long-standing harmonious and aesthetically stunning relationship between human culture and nature. Criterion: 9. Covering part of the transition between the high Andes and the Amazon basin, the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu shelters a remarkably diverse array of microclimates, habitats, and species of flora and fauna with a high degree of endemism. The property is part of a larger area unanimously considered of global significance for biodiversity conservation. Integrity. The historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu meets the conditions of integrity, as the natural and human-made attributes and values that sustain its outstanding universal value are mostly contained within its boundaries. The visual ensemble linking the main archaeological site of the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu with its striking mountain environment remains mostly intact. It is desirable to extend the property to encompass an even broader spectrum of human-land relationships. Additional cultural sites, such as Pisac and Ollantaytambo in the Sacred Valley, and a larger part of the Urubamba watershed would contribute to strengthening the overall integrity. In particular, the value for the conservation of the many rare and endemic species of flora and fauna would benefit from the inclusion or a stronger management consideration of the adjacent lands. A considerable number of well-documented threats render the property vulnerable to losing its future integrity and will require permanent management attention. Authenticity. Upon the abandonment of the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu at the beginning of the 16th century, vegetation growth and isolation ensured the conservation of the architectural attributes of the property. Although the design, materials and structures have suffered slight changes due to the decay of the fabric, the conditions of authenticity have not changed. The rediscovery in 1911, and subsequent archaeological excavations and conservation interventions have followed practices and international standards that have maintained the attributes of the property. Protection and management requirements. The state-owned historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu is an integral part of Peru's national protected areas system and enjoys protection through several layers of a comprehensive legal framework for both cultural and natural heritage. The boundaries of the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu are clearly defined and the protected area is surrounded by a buffer zone exceeding the size of the property. The management unit of the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu, UGM, was established in 1999 to lead the strategies contained in the master plans, which are the regularly updated governing documents for the management of the property. UGM was reactivated in 2011 and is comprised of representatives of the Ministries of Culture, Environment and Foreign Trade and Tourism, the regional government of Cusco, serving as the president of the executive committee, and the local municipality of Machu Picchu. A platform bringing together key governmental representatives at all levels is indispensable for the management of a property which forms part of Peru's very identity and is the country's primary domestic and international tourist destination. Notwithstanding the adequate legislative and formal management framework, there are important challenges to the interinstitutional governance and the effectiveness of management and protection of the property. The dispersed legislation would benefit from further harmonization, and despite existing efforts, the involvement of various ministries and governmental levels ranging from local to national remains a complex task, including in light of the sharing of the significant tourism revenues. Tourism itself represents a double-edged sword by providing economic benefits but also by resulting in major cultural and ecological impacts. The strongly increasing number of visitors to the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu must be matched by an adequate management regulating access, diversifying the offer and efforts to fully understand and minimize impacts. A larger appropriate and increasing share of the significant tourism revenues could be reinvested in planning and management. The planning and organization of transportation and infrastructure construction, as well as the sanitary and safety conditions for both tourists and new residents attracted by tourism, requires the creation of high-quality and new long-term solutions, and is a significant ongoing concern. Since the time of inscription, consistent concerns have been expressed about ecosystem degradation through logging, firewood and commercial plant collection, poor waste management, poaching, agricultural encroachment in the absence of clear land tenure arrangements, introduced species and water pollution from both urban waste and agrochemicals in the Urubamba River, in addition from pressures derived from broader development in the region. It is important to remember that the overall risks are aggravated by the location in a high altitude with extreme topography and weather conditions, and thus susceptibility to natural disasters. Continuous efforts are needed to comply with protected areas and other legislation and plans and prevent further degradation. There is also great potential for restoring degraded areas.